Okay guys, Andrew with NA Bowfishing. What I'm going to do today, since we're getting close to the bowfishing season, just about time, I'm going to show you some of the gear I like to use, some differences in a couple different retrievers, as well as a couple different arrowheads. The first thing I'm going to show you here is this repair kit that I always keep with me on the boat. So this is just a tackle box. It's a little tackle box. It's got some different arrowheads in it for the different tips that I use. I've got spare knocks so I can replace knocks on the water, the super glue to do that. I've got spare parts for my safety slides, as well as I keep some Allen keys in here. I've got a utility knife for cutting off knocks, some sandpaper if there's splinters on my arrows. That way I can keep all that clean and up and good to go. I keep this in a bag at all times. It's on the boat with me. That bag's also got a little toolkit in it. It's got some pliers and screwdrivers and stuff. I also keep spare line for the bottle retrievers as well, just in case I ever have a catastrophic failure with one of those. I would need to replace the line on it. Next thing I'll show you here is this towel. So I like to keep towels like this on the boat with me. I've got a whole bunch of them. They're little bar rags you can buy from Walmart. I put a little loop on them and a small carabiner, so that way you can hook these to something on your boat. You can hook them to a belt loop, so that way you've got it on your hip at all times. You can wipe your hands down, get the fish slime off of you and your gear while you're on the water and you're fishing. Another thing that I carry, I usually only carry one of these tubes at a time, but all my extra arrows are in these two tubes. So the yellow one here I use for all of my three barb grapple hooks, or grapples by Interlock. These are the heads that I primarily use, so I keep them in this bigger yellow tube, and that's what I usually take on the boat with me. Depending on the trip, if I'm going for a couple days, if I'm going for a longer trip, I'll take this tube as well. This is just a PVC tube that I made, and it holds all of my older arrows, because you never want to be without, you can never have too many arrows. So these arrows, they're not the mechanical 3-barb like those. They're a 2-barb that's fixed, but they're the Riptide Pro from Finfinder. They work great. I just like the holding power of the 3-barb a little bit more. So as far as the two different arrow head designs, these are just two. There's a lot of different versions of these. There's multiple of the 3-barb as well as these. I just find that I like the grapple head and the way they work. As you can see, when they open up, they're quite large. They're about 2-inch diameter circle of holding power. One thing with these, when you are taking fish off, you have to unscrew the head all the way in order to get the barbs to actually invert so you can get the fish off. I've seen people that complain about that because they don't like having to remove the head all the way. Personally, I don't care. It doesn't seem like it takes any more or less time. But for me, this is the way to go as far as heads go. I use this head for quite some time. It's a 2-barb. It's a Riptide Pro from Finfinder. These tips, they're in 3 pieces. As you can see there, you've got the top piece so you can take the head off and just replace your tip. If you're having issues with hitting rocks, stuff like that, you can replace the tip easily. The middle section is what you would turn to actually release your fish, so you turn it out a rotation or two and you can flip the barb inside out to pull your fish out. One reason I don't like these quite as much is they have a tendency to pull out a little more, especially this particular kind, because the barbs don't have much movement there, so they're very fixed, and it makes it a little easier for them to pull out. They do hold well for the most part, but we lost a lot more fish with these than we have with the 3-barb head. We lose very few fish with the 3-barb head. So I'll go back and I'll show you the different bows and the retrievers that I use. The retriever I primarily use is the AMS Retriever Pro. I like that one the most. It's very simple, very easy. I also have the standard AMS retriever, and I have a Muzzy closed face retriever. This is the first retriever that I bought. It was a Muzzy kit. It's a nice retriever. I like it. I just don't like having to push the button. That's the biggest reason that I don't use these style retrievers. Is just like any closed face fishing reel, it's locked until you release the button, and then your line will come out. So before every shot, you got to remember to push that button, so when you shoot, it can free spool out. If you don't push the button, you are either going to damage the reel or you'll lose your arrow. I have lost a couple arrows with this reel, and like I said, it's one of the reasons that I kind of stopped using it. Is either I would be using it and I would, in a hurry, I would forget to push the button, or I'd give it to somebody that's newer, doesn't really know as much about the operating system of it, and they would forget to push the button and I'd lose arrows. So I just kind of stopped using this. I keep it as just an extra reel for emergency purposes. If one of these were to fail on me, I can easily put this on whatever bow needs it. As far as these go, these are the same basic function, just one's an older version of the AMS reel. The AMS Pro Retriever is the one. If I was recommending any retriever to anybody, I would tell you to buy this one. I think it lists for a little over $100 is the price for the retriever, which is about on par with almost any retriever you're going to get. These retrievers, they come with the arrow holder. They've got an adjustment on them here, so you can actually, slide your retriever up and down depending on where you need it set on your bow to give you the most comfortable ability to actually squeeze the lever and reel the line in. And like I said, the best thing about these is they're a drag-free system, so when you knock up, you draw, you shoot, there's nothing you have to worry about until you go to reel. You just got to squeeze that into reel. In my opinion, it's much easier to remember to squeeze a lever and reel than it is to hit the button between every single shot, because if you're in a big school of fish and you're shooting shot after shot after shot, as fast as you can reel it in and shoot again, it's much nicer not having to worry about the button. So that's my opinion on the retrievers. You can take it as it is. As far as bows go, I've got 3 different style bows here. I'll start with this one since I'm holding it. This is the Fin Finder Poseidon. This is my favorite bow fishing bow that I've ever shot. It's short, it's light, it works great on boats. It can be shot by anybody because it is a compound bow, but it doesn't have a breaking point. It doesn't have a let off like your standard compound hunting bow would have. So it makes it really nice for shooting purposes, because if you're a 20-inch draw or a 30-inch draw, you can comfortably shoot this bow and you're going to get the same performance out of it pretty much regardless of who's shooting it. So that's one reason I've really come to like this bow. It's very simple, very easy to use, and it hasn't let me down when I've been using it. The second bow is actually the first bow I started bow fishing with. Is an old Oneida Eagle. There's a lot of these style bows still used. A lot of people like them. They're similar in this, where there's no let off to them, so it doesn't matter what your draw length is. You're able to shoot this bow whether you're 20 inches or a 40-inch draw or 30-inch draw. So my biggest downfall with this is the weight and the axle to axle. As you can see, it's a long axle to axle. I greatly prefer the shorter axle to axle. If I stand these next to each other, you can see, the Oneida is a lot taller, and in my opinion, it makes it a little more unwieldy when you're on a boat. So that's that bow. And the last bow I got here is going to be, if you went to a pawn shop, you bought an inexpensive compound bow. It works great. You can use it for bow fishing. My complaint with it is that you set a draw length, and if you're the only one shooting it, that's fine. It doesn't matter. If you're trying to pass it around to people, it can cause issues with somebody that's got a shorter draw or longer draw not being able to shoot it as comfortably. So that's the only downside to this. Other than that, it works just as well as these. I keep all my bows about 40 pounds. This bow is actually a 50-pound bow, so getting it down to 40 was a little bit difficult. I think it's actually a little over 40. I can't remember exactly what it's set to. It's out as far as I could get it to go. It's still, I think it's closer to 45 than 40. And I like the 40-pound weight. You don't damage as many arrows in shallow water, and it also doesn't get you as tired as quick. I can shoot this bow all day, and I don't really get tired of it. If you're shooting, 50, 60 pounds in a bow fishing bow, you're going to get tired after a few shots. It's not uncommon to shoot, 50 to 100 times at night. If you're having a good night on the water, you got good water clarity. So the next thing I'm going to show you is difference in these rests. There's 2 rests that I've been running. Okay, so like I said, there's 2 rests that I've been running. This one here is the Riptide Pro, or Hydroglide Pro. Got that in his head mixed up. It's the Hydroglide Pro by Fin Finder. And then this rest is the Current rest, also by Fin Finder. I prefer the Current, and I'll show you why. It's simple. The Current rest, the price on it's a little bit cheaper. I think it's right about $20 from Fin Finder. It's very simple rest. It's easy to attach. It's easy to install. You set it up. You just drop the arrow in and it's ready to go. I've had very few issues with this rest. It doesn't loosen up on me, and I haven't had arrows fall out of it, haven't had any mishaps with it at all. As far as the simplicity, the price, it's really hard to beat. I highly recommend this rest to anybody. The next rest that I've been running, also a fin finder rest, like I said, this one's the Hydroglide Pro. My biggest complaint with it is the arrow retention system and the screw in the bottom. As you can see, it's flipping around on me. That screw loosens up on me, and it for some reason it does it a lot, and that's constantly checking it on the boat. Part of the reason why I keep the Allen keys in there, because I've constantly got to keep an eye on these style rests. And the arrow retention system, they've got this. They had an old one that was black, and they've got this blue one. The blue one holds up a little better and holds in a little better, but it still comes out, and I've lost a bunch of them. I think this is the last rest I have that actually has a retention device on it. That is the Fin Finder Hydroglide Pro. So I have moved away to the current rest simply because of those two little issues there. Plus this one's a little higher in cost, so you save a couple bucks by buying that one, and in my opinion you get a simpler, easy to use, and more effective product than what this one is. You can see all my bows, I've got these finger savers. I believe they're called the Hydra Shot from Fin Finder. They come with 3 notches on them. I always cut the top one down when I install them, just because I don't use the top 3. I usually shoot 1 above, 2 under when I shoot this. You can always shoot 3 under, but you never really shoot more than 1 finger above. So I always cut it down right in the center. So I would cut it there and put that one on top, and then leave 3 on the bottom. Makes it a little more comfortable to shoot. Keeps that a little more compact on the bow as well. Other than that, not a whole lot of difference in any other equipment that I'm running. The last thing I'll show you here is this table that everything's sitting on. So I built this table specifically to take bow fishing with me for cleaning fish. It's a 5-foot folding table. You can buy them, $30 to $40 range, different places. And I went with the folding one to make it more compact for travel. You can fold it in half, throw it in the bed of your truck, throw it in your boat. Works great. And what I did with this to make it a bow fishing table is I added fillet knives to it. So I went to Walmart, bought some cheap fillet knives that come with a sheath, and I attached 4 of them. One on this corner, one up here, one in that corner, and one over here. So that way they don't interfere with each other. They fold up nicely into the inside of this case, and you always have a knife with you. Like I said, these are cheaper knives. I used them all last year. As you can see, they still look, nice and clean. I haven't had any issues with them failing on me. They hold a good edge. I just run them through my sharpener whenever I use them, but it works great for cleaning fish at the water. What I find is when I'm driving an hour plus to get to my fishing spots, I get down there, I get off the water at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting tired. By the time I get home, it's now 3, sometimes a little after 3, and I don't feel like cleaning fish when I get home. So then you got to put them in a cooler, try to do it the next morning sometime. I find it easier just clean them right there at the river. I drop my fish off at a farmer who uses them for compost on the way home, so carp, stuff like that. So when I shoot a bunch of catfish, I can clean them, throw the carcasses in with the carp, and then I can drop them all off in one shot at the farmer's compost pile. So that way, all the fish out of my hair. I've got a bag full of catfish fillets. When I get home, I can throw them in the fridge. Then the next morning, I can get them out, clean them up, package them for freezing. So that's why I built this table. It works great. As far as cleanup goes, you just hose it off, wipe it down with some Clorox, and you're good to go for the next go round. So that's the basic gear that I use. If you haven't seen my boat video, I'll have it set right here. You click on the link, go check out the boat video and see the boat that I use and how I built it. I am going to be making some changes to that. I've got a new internal light system that I'm going to put in it. Same general design, but I've got to structure it a little better so it's stronger. I had a failure on it last year where I actually tore one of the strip lights and it stopped working on that half of the boat. So I've got an idea on how I'm going to fix that. So if you keep look out for that video. It should be here in the next couple weeks. I'll get that one posted once I get that up and built. I'm also getting a new generator for the boat, so I'll show you that as well. I'm going to put a generator inverter on it so it'll be quieter and hopefully allow for better communication and a less drone in the background for me. But if you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. I wish you all to have a safe and successful bow fishing year. Good luck to everybody.